A poor old man once told his grandson something that shocked the entire village. He said, "Never save money. Not because money was evil, not because work was meaningless, but because saving alone, without discipline and responsibility, makes a man weak." This same truth was understood by the samurai centuries ago, and it decided who survived and who slowly disappeared. In a quiet village far from cities and markets lived an old grandfather and his young grandson. The old man had little money. His clothes were worn. His house was small. People whispered that he was poor because he made bad choices. One evening, the grandson asked a simple question. "Grandfather, should I save my money so I can feel safe?" The old man was silent for a long time. Then he said calmly, "If money sleeps, it dies." The boy did not understand. In ancient Japan, this idea was not strange. Samurai were never taught to hoard for comfort. They were taught to prepare, to act, and to carry responsibility. Money, like the sword, was useless if left untouched. In the same village lived another man. People called him lazy. He often spoke of big plans. He dreamed of wealth, respect, and a better future. But his days were empty. He waited for luck. He waited for help. He waited for the perfect moment. Zen teaches that a man who waits has already chosen stagnation. The samurai understood this deeply. Miyamoto Musashi wrote that delay is a form of defeat. The lazy man believed dreaming was enough. It was not. One winter, the village changed its rhythm. The roads grew quiet. Work disappeared without explanation. The cold arrived early and stayed longer than expected. For the first time, the lazy man felt time pressing against his body. Food run low. At first, he laughed it away. He told himself this was temporary. He repeated the same comforting stories he had always used to escape effort. But hunger does not listen to stories. It entered his body slowly without drama. A dull ache in the stomach, weakness in the hands, a heaviness behind the eyes. His dreams, once loud and comforting, became useless. They could not warm him. They could not fill a bowl. This is an ancient truth known to warriors. Reality does not negotiate. It arrives without anger, without emotion, without delay. In Bushidō, hardship was never considered an enemy. It was a mirror, clear, honest, and unforgiving. The samurai believed suffering revealed the truth of a man's character, not who he wished to be, but who he had trained himself to become. Hunger stripped the lazy man of illusion. There was no one left to blame, no future version of himself to promise action later. Only the present moment and his unpreparedness. Shame followed quietly, not the loud shame of public failure, but the heavy, private kind. The shame of knowing the problem was not fate or luck or the village. It was him. And yet within this realization, something shifted. The hunger did not make him heroic. It did not fill him with confidence or sudden ambition. It made him honest. For the first time, he stopped asking what he wanted. He asked what was required. This was the turning point. In Zen, awakening rarely comes as light or joy. It comes as clarity, often uncomfortable, often humbling. The man understood a simple truth: no one was coming. If he did not move, nothing would change. So he acted, not boldly, not perfectly, not with grand plans or speeches. He acted consistently. He took the work that was available, not the work that impressed others. He accepted small tasks without complaint. He showed up again the next day, even when his pride resisted. This was his first discipline. In samurai training, the sword is lifted thousands of times before it is ever tested. Strength is built in repetition, not emotion. The man did not defeat hunger that winter, but he stopped running from it. And in that stillness, a new path quietly began. The old grandfather noticed the man working, slowly, silently, without complaints. One evening, the old man spoke to his grandson again. The samurai did not begin with grand victories, he said. They began with correct posture. This is Shuhari, first obey, then refine, then transcend. The lazy man earned a small coin. He did not save it to feel safe. He used it to create movement. The coin returned with another. Not magicry, not luck, responsibility. The grandfather watched the man carefully. He did not praise him, he did not interfere. In the way of the old teachers, he waited until the lesson could be received. One evening, as the fire burned low, the grandson asked again about money, about safety, about saving. The old man spoke softly. Saving without action, he said, is fear disguised as wisdom. The words were not cruel, they were precise. In ancient Japan, rice was life. Families who stored rice but never planted it believed they were being careful. But the old farmers knew better. Rice kept too long. Seeds not placed into soil never multiplied. What looked like caution became famine. Money, the grandfather explained, follows the same law. Held too tightly, it loses purpose. Hidden away, it teaches the owner to avoid risk rather than develop strength. Zen teaches that stillness without awareness is sleep. Movement without intention is chaos. The balance lies between them. The samurai understood this balance. They trained every day not because battle was constant, but because readiness fades when unused. A sword left untouched gathers rust. A body untrained forgets its posture. A mind seeking only safety becomes fragile. The lazy man learned this truth slowly and painfully. At first, he saved his small coins out of fear. Fear of hunger returning, fear of losing progress. But fear made his hands tight and his thinking narrow. Then came the test. A chance appeared, small, uncertain, unimpressive. It required effort, attention, and the willingness to risk what little he had gained. Old habits whispered to him to protect himself, to wait, to hold back, but something inside him had changed. He remembered the hunger. He remembered the mirror it had held before him. For the first time, he understood that safety had never protected him before, so he chose movement. Each coin became a tool, not a trophy. Each decision became practice, not a gamble. He stopped measuring success by how much he kept. He measured it by how responsibly he acted. This was his second discipline. In Bushidō, responsibility was heavier than wealth. A man was judged not by what he possessed, but by how he carried his duty. The man's money began to grow quietly, not because he chased it, but because his thinking had matured. He no longer asked how to avoid loss. He asked how to become capable. And that question changed everything. There was no excitement, no sudden transformation, only routine, wake, work, repeat. This was Kaizen, improvement so small it feels invisible. But invisibility is power. The man stopped dreaming aloud. He became quiet. Silence is always the sign of real change. 1 year later, the village noticed something. The man was no longer lazy. Not because he was rich, but because his identity had changed. In Bushidō, honor was not declared. It was observed. The man had become dependable. His money grew only because he had grown first. The old grandfather grew weaker as the seasons passed. His body slowed, but his presence did not fade. He spoke less now, choosing silence over explanation. In Zen, final teachings are rarely long. What matters most is said with restraint. One evening, sensing the end was near, he called his grandson to sit beside him. The fire was low. Outside, the village was quiet. The boy had grown since their first conversations. Not older in years alone, but steadier in posture, more attentive in his listening. The grandfather studied him carefully, as a master once studied a student before releasing him. Then he spoke. "Do not chase money," he said. "Chasing makes a man lean forward, always off balance. Do not hide it. Hiding teaches fear and teaches the heart to shrink. Do not worship it. Worship makes a servant, not a master." The boy listened without interrupting. The old man continued. "Make yourself useful." In Bushidō, usefulness was a form of honor. A warrior existed to serve something greater than his comfort. Make your effort sharp, not loud, not desperate. Precise, disciplined, and repeatable. Then money will follow quietly. He paused. Quietly is important, he said. What arrives loudly often leaves the same way. These were not theories. They were the distillation of a life. The grandfather had never been wealthy, but he had never been helpless. He had endured because he remained capable. This, he explained, was the way of the warrior, not conquest, no to accumulation, preparizaione. The lazy man, now standing in the doorway, heard these words as well. He understood something the younger version of himself never could. Money had not saved him. Dreams had not saved him. Responsibility had. As the old man closed his eyes for the last time, no one wept loudly. In samurai tradition, excessive grief was considered attachment to what must pass. Instead, there was stillness. The grandson rose and bowed, not to the body, but to the teaching. From that day forward, he carried the lesson silently. He did not speak of money often. He did not explain his choices. He worked. He prepared. He acted when required. And because of that, his future did not collapse when conditions changed. This is the quiet inheritance of the warrior, not wealth, but readiness. The samurai never sought comfort. Comfort softens the body and dulls the mind. It convinces a man that tomorrow will be gentle and that preparation can wait. The samurai sought something else. They sought readiness. Readiness meant waking before dawn, even when no battle was planned. It meant training when the body resisted. It meant accepting uncertainty without complaint. They did not save to feel safe. They trained to be capable. Safety is a feeling. Capability is a condition. The grandfather understood this. The man who was once lazy learned it. And the grandson inherited it, not as money, but as posture, discipline, and judgment. Money grows only when guided by discipline. Without discipline, it sits still and slowly loses meaning. Dreams die when separated from action. Not dramatically, quietly. They fade one delay at a time. The quiet man who takes responsibility, who acts without applause, who prepares without praise, will always outlast the one who only imagines victory. Because imagination does not endure hardship. Responsibility does. In ancient Japan, warriors believed a life was measured not by what it gained, but by what it could withstand. This story is not only about money. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not collapse when conditions change. The kind of person who does not panic when comfort disappears. The kind of person whose effort is steady, whose actions are deliberate, and whose presence is calm. If there is one lesson to carry forward, let it be this. Do not wait for confidence before acting. Do not wait for safety before beginning. Do not wait for permission to become responsible. Begin small, begin quietly, begin now. Silence, consistency, action. This is the ancient way. If this story resonated with you, if you are drawn to discipline, inner strength, and timeless wisdom, this channel exists for you. Here we explore ancient Japanese philosophy, samurai principles, and quiet lessons that still apply to modern life. You are welcome to subscribe and walk this path with us. And if this story reminded you of your own struggles, your own turning points, or a lesson you learned the hard way, share it in the comments. Your words may become a mirror for someone else. Thank you for listening. Until next time, remain prepared.